My name's Bruce Pascoe and I'm a Yuin Bunurong and Tasmanian man, and I'm a writer. My family didn't know a lot about the Aboriginal heritage in the family, or didn't say much about it anyway, but gradually after I was about 9 I became more and more familiar with the story. One of my uncles was very good in talking to me about it. I've always been a writer, mainly stories, novels, poetry, anything really. But when I was investigating our family history, I realised there were no books written about the dispossession of Aboriginal people that really talked about families. And I was wanting to find out about my family. So I decided I'd have to write one. So I wrote a book called Convincing Ground, which was about the war in Australia. The war they said never happened. The war for the land between the British and Aboriginal Australia. And while I was doing that, I started learning about the fact that Aboriginal people had agriculture. I had no idea about that. And suddenly I was turning up these facts in the history books that I was reading, and I thought, how come I never learned about this at school? How come I never learned about it at university? How come they would allow me to be a history teacher without me knowing this? So I thought, well, instead of whinging about it, I better do something about it. So I wrote a book called Dark Emu, which talks about the Aboriginal agriculture that our people had before the British arrived. And it's going to be a very handy thing, not just as an interesting historical fact. It's going to be interesting for us as a country as we enter climate change and a drying continent. The crops that our people grew, which were Australian plants, are absolutely dedicated and adapted to this climate. Why didn't we use them in the first place? Anyone who comes to the country and eats a meal here and sleeps on Australian soil is Australian. And so it's important to know your country. And so it would be respectful of everybody to learn the history, the story of the people who have been here for 100,000 years. You know, people rock up here for 5, 10, 100, 200 years and think it's a long time. In our terms, it's only a short time. You're Australians just like us, and now we have to get along with each other. But please, learn our history.